So like the rule for counting by tens, counting by hundreds is a similar pattern, but now instead of 1 0 in the end, 100 has 2 zeros at the end. So that means two numbers, whatever they are, will stay the same. So we have a 48 there, it's going to be a 48 here, 48, 48, and then 48. So how do we do this from here on? Well, we look at what's beside this 48 and we see it's a 1. So going this way, it's going to become a 2, so 248, and then a 3, so 348, and then 448. And then backwards, well, what's 1 less than a 0? Like we're going backwards here. So it's going to go from a 1 to a 0. Now, a general rule is if the 0's in the very front over here, you never ever say it. You just say whatever this number is. So this says 48. This whole thing just says 48. And this one says 148 and 248 and so on. Okay, this question here, well, you know what? I'll give you a moment here to try these two on your own. So pause the video and come back when you're done. Okay, we're back. So from 238, should have realized the 38 will stay the same. And backwards, 38 and 38. So the only thing again in this one that's changing is the 2 from a to a 3 to a 4, and then backwards from a 1 and then a 0. So what does this number say? Well, remember, we never say the 0 in the front over here on the left side. We just say this as to be 38 and then 138, 238, and so on. And again, the last one over here. So 57, that's going to stay because again, we have two zeros counting by 100, so we keep two numbers the same. So 57 on all of them. So from a 4 to a 5 to a 6 and then backwards 3, 2. And that's counting by hundreds. If you got them all right, then again, give yourself, let's do 3 out of 3. So good job. Otherwise, go back and review this lesson before moving on. So remember, for counting by 25s, it's always important to write down the pattern on the very bottom of the page or somewhere on the page. So I'm going to write it over here. I'm going to go 25, 50, 75, 0. And for this one, we can write arrows over the zeros. So following this pattern over here, we have 0 right there. What comes after it is 25, and then 50, 75, 0. Put an arrow. Oh, where did that come from? We don't need that. And then put an arrow over here. And then again, 25. So from a 4, the 4 stays. So we have a 4 there, and then a 4 there, a 4 there, and then a 5 over here. And then continuing it, the 5 stays. So using this pattern now, try the next 3 questions and we'll mark them in a moment. Okay, we're back. So you should have done this. 25, and then comes a 50, and then a 75, and then a 0. Put an arrow. Backwards, we have a 0, right? Here's 25. Going backwards, there's nothing there, so we go all the way to this end. You put a 0, and then a 75. So let's put arrows over the zeros. That's fine like this. And then we'll focus on this number now. So from a 5, it'll stay a 5, because there's no arrow yet. And then a 5, and then a 6. Now going backwards is going to be a 5 over here, and then the 4 will sit on this spot here, because when you go left to right, the 4 will hit the arrow and it'll become a 5. So just some common sense here you got to work on if you didn't get that. How about the next one? 50, right here, should have went 75, 0, 25. Put an arrow. Backwards, you got 25, 0. Put an arrow. So going forwards now, this 9, what's going to happen to the 9 is the 9 will stay a 9. And then here it's going to change to a 10. What does this number say? It says 1,000, right? So from 1,000, it's the 10 over here will stay a 10. There's no arrow. Going backwards, this will be a 9, and this will also be a 9. The number before it will be an 8, but we don't have that spot over here. So we have 900, 925, and so on. The next question, we're going to tackle it the same way. So 75 and then 0, put an arrow. And then what's going to happen is 25, 50. Backwards, you got 50 here and you got 25 there. So it follows the same pattern as this down here. So 25, 50. Okay, so let's see what happens here. What are we going to focus on now? Which number? Well, we're going to focus on this one. So the 1 will hit the 0. It'll become a 2, and then another 2, and then another 2. Okay, going backwards, it's going to be a 1 and a 1. Okay, so no arrows to deal with here. So give yourself a mark for every one of these questions if you got it, and if you did, great job. You have to be able to count by these numbers, to skip count by them before moving on to the problem solving, which is part 2. In this next example, we're going to be counting money. So we're going to do it again using a skip counting method. And here's a little bit of a trick that you can use. Start with the largest amount of money, and then once you're done those, go to the next largest amount. So in this case, you would start with the hundreds, count them first. You'd get 100, 200, 300. Then count the next largest amount of money. So it'd be the 25. So what's after 300? Put 25 more than another 25. So then you're going to switch to the tens. And when you're done counting by tens, you're going to switch to the fives. And then when you're done those, you'll switch to the ones. So do them in order like that. Take a moment right now. Write down all the numbers as they come about. And then stop the video and come back when you're done. Okay, we're back. So you should have wrote this down here. 100, 200, 300. So we have 100, 200, 300. So we can scratch those off. We're done them. Now you're going to go by 25. So after 300, you're going to get 325 and then 350. So we can scratch those off. Now we're going to switch to count by tens. So we're going to go 3. Remember the pattern for this one, guys. Look. One number. 1 0. So you're going to go 35 and then 360 and then 370. So what do we got here? We got 360, 370, 380, 390. And then 390. And then switch again, count by fives now. So what's after 390? Let's put, well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 more numbers. So we're going to go 395. Oh, what's the next one after 395, everybody? What is it? 400. Good job if you got it. And then 405 and 410. Did I go too much? Let's see here. We have 4 coins. Yeah, so we have these 4 are done. And then switching again to count by 1. So 410, 411, cross. 412, cross. 13, 14, 415. So I'll just write 413, 414, 415 cents. Great job, everybody. If you got it, I'll give you one more of these. Okay, here's the second question. Try this on your own here. Pause the video, and without writing this down, if you're super advanced, if you think you're that advanced, try to count these without writing anything down. So take a moment and stop the video. Okay, we're back. Let's count this out loud first. So we have the biggest amount is 100. So we'll start 100, 200. So after 200, we'll skip. Count by 25s. 100, so where are we at here? 100, 200. 225, 250, 275. So 100, 200, 225, 250, 275, 285, 295. So I don't forget. 295. Here, let's do it in white here. 295. And then we'll count by fives now. Well, let's switch. 295. 300, 305, 310, 315. And then we'll switch again to the ones. So 316, 317, 318. So we have 318 cents in this pile over here. So now we're moving on to the most advanced part of the unit, which is problem solving. And again, to tackle problem solving, read the question carefully. So if you want, take a moment, try these 2 on your own, and then come back when you're done. Okay, we're back. So in this question here, it says Jen started at the number 125. So we're going to do that here. We're going to write 125. That's where Jen started. And she skip counted 3 times. Okay, she doesn't say she skip counted by 3. It just says she skip counted 3 times. So I'm going to put 3 blanks. 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. And ended up at the number 155. So after counting 1, 2, 3, she ended up at 155. Now where people make the mistake in this question is they write the 155. I'll show you where they write it. They write it over here on the next blank. Okay, so that would be wrong, because if you wrote it in this blank, she would have skip counted 1, 2, 3, 4 times to end up at that number, but it only says 3 times. So let's go back here like that, and we'll write it in this blank here. And the question is, what number did Jen skip count by? So did she skip count by 3s, 4s, 5s? Well, we have a few options here. We have 3, 4, she could have skip counted by 5. We learned the rule for 10, 100, and 25. We learned all these rules here. So which one does this make sense for? Well, it can't be 3, because it just wouldn't make it in time. It wouldn't be enough spaces. It's not going to be by 4. How about by 5? Let's try this one out. So 125, the next number would be 130, and then 135, and then 140. So this one doesn't work here. So these 3 so far don't work. So it's going to be one of these 3. Try the 10. Remember the rule for 10? Hold the last number. It stays the same. Oh, look at this. The last number stays the same. This answer over here follows the pattern. So it's probably counting by 10s here. Let's double check it though. From a 12 to a 13 to a 14 to a 15. You get that. If you got it, awesome job, guys. Let's move on to the next one. So let's see here. So she skip counted by 10. So we'll write, before we move on, skip count by 10. Give yourself a mark if you got it. Next question. Bilal skip counted by 100, or he skip counted from 175. So he's not skip counting by 175. He's not counting by 175. He's starting basically at 175. So 175 is the first number. And after 6 counts, so he counted 6 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. After 6 counts, he landed on 145. 145. What number did he skip count by? What number did he skip count by? So did he skip count by 3, 4, 5, 10, 100, or did he skip count by 25s? Well, let's go in order here. 175. 3 probably wouldn't work. If you're to, I mean, first of all, you should notice you're counting backwards. You're getting a smaller number over here, so we're going to count backwards to get to this number. 3 ain't going to get us there. 4, if you try it, if you count backwards by 4, you won't make to this number. How about 5? How about 10? Well, I'm guessing it's going to be one of these two, because remember the pattern for 10? The last number never changes. Look at this. The last number doesn't change. So it could be 10, but it could also be 5, because in the pattern for 5, it alternates 0, 5, 0, 5, 0, 5. It's going to be one of those two. I've got a good feeling about that. It can't be 25, because remember the pattern for 25? 25, 50, 75, 0, 0. This number here, 45, isn't any of these. So we can scratch off 25. And 100 just wouldn't work for this. So let's try 5 or 10. It's going to be one or the other. If we start at 5, or let's say we start at 10 here. Let's go by 10. We're going to decrease this number. So from a 17 to a 16 to a... here, let's do this. If we're counting by 10s, these would all be 5s. So this would be a 5 and a 5 and a 5 and a 5. And these are all 5s here. So it'll be a 16 over here, a 15, a 14, a 13, a 12, and an 11. See, it doesn't work. So it's got to be, without even trying it, 10 doesn't work. It has to be counting by 5s. But let's double check it though anyways. So counting backwards here, you got 17. So 175, what's 5 less? 170, 165, 160, 155, 150, and then 145. So this one is the answer.